whether you've bought it, what price you've bought it at, and how long you'd like to hold it for. Is it a short-term trade or is it a long-term investment? The first question is coming in from Sudha, and she's asking what is a better stock between these two, Kunal, for the short term, which is, she's saying about a year or so. She's talking about AU Small Finance Bank, or she's talking about ABSL AMC.
So that's AU Small Finance Bank, and is it Nippon AMC or?
No, Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC.
Okay. Aditya Birla Sun Life, I don't track it that well because I think it's an illiquid stock as such. But then I think if I have to recommend, I think from a 1 year perspective, I think looking at the charts, looking at the structure, I believe there are better prospects which are available. I would actually suggest that shift towards a large cap name, and I think an alternative which I can provide at least on the chart basis, rather than looking at AU Small Finance Bank, because it's a very high beta name and the stock has been in the thick of news flow all along. I think you can look at something like UPL, even from current levels, United Phosphorus. There are other names on the FMCG side which are looking far more stronger and stable, and the risk reward also to enter them is quite lucrative. So that's Godrej Consumers at current levels, and if you're looking at further reducing your beta and looking at investing in PSU names, then I think even NTPC is something which you can look at from your current levels. So rather than looking at high beta stocks, I would suggest a shift towards either of these names which I mentioned.
Okay, Sharmila, I'm actually going to come to you. We have a long-term query coming in from Abhijit for Abbott India. Could you advise that, should they add more at the current price is what they are asking?
Abbott India, right? So, I think that these kind of names, which are like the MNC pharma names, are always safe to add. I think the only caveat here is that perhaps in the near term, you could see a downtrend on the price. So my advice would be to try and buy it on dips, and don't put in your entire money in one go, but try and buy it in dips and be long term, be a long term investor in these stocks. So yes, I think you can go ahead and start buying into Abbott, but as I said, stagger your buying.
Okay, Vishwanathan from Dubai is asking a question that I think a lot of investors of ITC have. Sharmila, this one's for you. He's holding on to Nestle as well as ITC, and he's wondering why ITC has not performed the way some other counters have. Is it simply a question of patience? Do you also have to account for the dividend yield, which, as I understand it, is higher than several other companies? How would you rate it, and would you say that you should still hold on to ITC?
So, first of all, let me just say that I have shares of ITC and I'm not selling them. But, what we really need to understand here is that ITC, in a sense, is a stock which is out of fashion. Simply because cigarette business is dated globally, and, you have this whole ESG concept, because of which a lot of mutual funds are reluctant to, FIs especially, are reluctant to invest in ITC. Having said that, I think the numbers are good. Now they're talking of, sort of demerging their businesses, because they do have hotels, they have paper, they have FMCG goods, they have an IT vertical. So they are talking along those lines. If something good comes from that, that will remain to be seen. So I think the reason why the stock has not underperformed is more to do with the business itself than anything else. So if you're willing to wait it out and wait for these things to sort of happen in terms of demerger and make your money from their other hope that the other businesses grow bigger, etc., then you can stay invested. But per se, I think if you have to compare between Nestle and ITC, I think clearly Nestle would be a stock which will give you better returns in the near term.
Right, Sharmila. Surely wait it out for ITC. If you have the patience, then you should keep it, is what she's saying. But Kunal, Natarajan is asking for Bank of Baroda, 1 year horizon he has. Should he be buying it at the current price?
Well, yes, I think you should look to buy Bank of Baroda, and if possible, probably look to have a buy on dips kind of a strategy over here, because many of these PSU stocks, they have a tendency of getting into a 10%, 15% correction on an average in every kind of market cycle. There's always the tendency that even if you happen to buy these stocks at the higher point of the price trend, because the near-term charts are looking attractive, there's always a possibility that these stocks can get into a short-term correction mode. So try and make use of the correction as and how it happens, assumingly for Bank of Baroda. But I think it's a good stock to have, from a 1 year perspective. And looking at the prospects, I believe even if you have an average, say closer to 88, 90 for Bank of Baroda, then I believe the near-term prospects for the stock in the next, say 9 months to 12 months could be closer to 110, 120.
Okay, Kunal, this isn't really a stock specific question, it's more a strategy question. And I think Prasant has a good problem in that he's wondering when is the best time to book profits, because the targets that he sets keep getting breached, and he's wondering how to book profits. It's a pleasant problem to have, right?
Well, absolutely, yes. So there are two ways to look at it. One is, assuming if you are, if you've already bought a stock and the stock is crossing past above your target levels, and then setting up, new targets, and it manages to cross over that, the best way to try and look at it is have a trailing stop loss mechanism. Now, there are various technical studies, for example, where you can try and apply and, look at how the best, method in terms of trading stop loss mechanism for individual stocks. The other way to look at it, and I frankly look at it quite closely in that regards, is if you have any other stock opportunity which can be as strong or much more stronger than your existing one, then it could make sense to maybe book out some profits, even if you're making good money over there, and maybe shift towards the other opportunity. I think that could be also a good strategy, because then your portfolio also slowly, steadily becomes more diversified, as well as there is a higher possibility of returns, much higher returns getting generated. So it all depends on each individual, psyche. Frankly, it depends on individual to individual. For someone who's wanting to just stick towards few specific trades, a trailing stop loss mechanism could actually turn out to be much better. But someone who wants to slowly and steadily diversify, I think following the second step could actually turn out to be a good strategy.
Sharmila, we have a query from Sagar. Fundamental view on Tattva Chintan Pharma. He's gotten an allotment and further added a 3,200 rupees also per share at the IPO price. Now, do you think this has the potential to grow further in the near term? And how do you see it moving on the fundamental wise? And will it reach 4,000 rupees?
Honestly, this is not a stock that I track, so I think I'll avoid answering this one.
Okay, Kunal, do you have a view on Tattva Chintan?
Not really. I think Vinny, it's just recently listed name, so would avoid giving any specifically long-term kind of a view for the stock.
All right. I'll take over then. We've got a question coming in from a viewer, and unfortunately they haven't given me their name. Oh no, this is Dikshita. Dikshita is asking about Infi and Oracle. Between these two, Sharmila, it's a fundamental question. Oracle Financial Services Software. And I know these are not necessarily like-to-like comparison, but which would you pick for the long term?
Again, a very difficult question, but I guess Infosys, because you do have a sort of a better track record in terms of the kind of numbers that they have, the order wins that they've had. I think even in terms of size now, they're fairly large, almost close to, I think, the size of Cognizant, if I'm not mistaken. So I think all things sort of point in favor, and especially if you're a longer term investor, and given the fact that valuations of both are high, I think it makes sense to be invested in Infosys.
Okay, Kunal, coming to you, Niranjan is asking actually his view, your view on Tata Steel for a very short term, 1 to 2 weeks hold time is what he's saying. So what is your view on Tata Steel?
I think the steel stocks managed to give a breakout last week. I think on mid of last week is where Tata Steel also managed to give a breakout. Post that breakout, 2 days of retracement, which is, I believe, a natural course of price action for many of the stocks to try and shrug off the weaker hands. Current still again looks very attractive. 1180, 1185 could actually turn out to be a good support zone, and the stock happens to come to that level. That could be a classic risk reward to look at, buy on Tata Steel. So bullish on the stock from a very near term perspective. I think 1180, 1185 should be a good entry point.
Okay, Gauri Gupta has got the next question, and this one's for you, Sharmila. Even though she's asking whether IRCTC is a good, if it's a good time to buy IRCTC right now. It's had its wobbles, but it's a stock that has gained very, very tremendously in a very short period of time. The question is, should you buy right now based on the fundamentals?
I think you can risk it because at the end of the day, this is a stock that will play heavily into the open up theme, and one expects the way Omicron numbers are that cities like, especially the cities like Mumbai, Delhi, etc., they will probably peak in the third week of January or by end January, and then as schools end and we get into the holiday season, people will look to travel again, and this time the travel will largely be domestic as it has been for the past couple of years. So I think there is a good chance that IRCTC could see a decent, the stock price could see a decent uptrend once everybody starts talking about opening up.
Next one is up for you. Chaitanya is asking for Global Spirits current price. Should they be buying it with a 1 year view?
A top performer, I think, if I'm not wrong, from the a brewery space. The stock has done exceptionally well. I think 2 years back on the pandemic low, the stock was, I think, 2 digits odd, 75 or 78 rupees odd approximately, if I'm not wrong, and now it's jumped up significantly from those levels. So it's done exceptionally well over the last 2 years of time span, and which is why I think if you're looking to buy these stocks, it's very important that you buy these stocks at a strong corrective phase, like what we saw, I think, for Global Spirits in the previous 2 months. From October highs, the stock corrected almost 20-25%. Those are classical entry points. So rather than buying these stocks on the highs, you have to wait for those corrective points to try and enter the stock. I would not advise a buy at current levels. I would suggest that if the stock corrects, say at least 20%, over the near term, that could be a good entry point, closer to maybe 1300, 1350 odd.
Just a quick reminder, if you've sent us a query, make sure you tell us your name as well. Sharmila as well as Kunal, it's time to hit the rapid fire segment, and you both know what that is. I'll just get started. LIC Housing Finance at these levels. Rajesh from Thrissur is asking, he's holding at levels of 500. Should he continue to hold? Sharmila, this one's for you.
Yes, I think you can continue to hold. What we are actually seeing is that real estate numbers are improving. So housing finance should also do well. So I would say continue to hold.
Kunal, Shailaja is asking for a short-term view on Nalco. Should they be buying it at the current price?
Yes, I think good level to try and enter Nalco. 110, 108 seems to be a good pivot support for the stock.
Sharmila, Birla Tyre, he's not given us a buy price, but Deepak from Gandhinagar is holding. Should he hold on to this or switch to something else?
I think shift to JK Tyre. That would be my preferred play within the tyre space.
Sharmila, one more coming in for you. Midterm view on CRM Silks. They're holding at 200 rupees per share. So what should they be doing? Holding it, averaging it, or buying more?
I'm afraid I don't have a view on this.
No problem. Alok Industries and JT EKT. We've got Bala who's holding on to both 1,000 shares each for the last 3 years. Should he hold on, Sharmila?
Alok, yes, I think there are things happening there which make people positive on the stock. GTKT, I'm not so sure of.
Kunal, we have a Websol Energy Systems query coming in from Rakesh. Should they average or what should they be doing with a mid to long term view type?
Look to average, looks attractive. The stock has recently broken out. So you can look to average, but I think you still have to wait for maybe further corrections to average it out further. So keep some powder dry.
Yeah. Okay, I think a lot of people have questions on granules, and I think we'll take it first thing tomorrow on the query segment. Kunal, this one's for you definitely, but we're out of time on the query segment, unfortunately, even though we've got hundreds of queries that we haven't answered. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to the both of you. Thank you so much for taking the time. And we have to slip into a short break. Do stay tuned, more on the other side.